introduce you to Paul Vasey. So Paul Vasey is an educator at TUS, and his main focus is on the rich learning environment for students, emphasis on students and what we can do for you. So technology is constantly changing and shaping the way we interact with the world and each other. In his work, Paul focuses on novel uses of hardware and software technologies in the built environment space. And today he will be introducing 2 programs, and the first one is BIM with Revit Architecture. So I'll let you go ahead there, Paul.
Thanks for that, Liz. So our first program that I'm going to talk to you about is BIM with Revit Architecture. So you can go to the next slide there. There we go. So this program is designed to be an introduction to building information modeling and in particular Revit Architecture. So Revit Architecture would be one of the key building information modeling tools out there. Think of it like AutoCAD on steroids if you're not familiar with it. It's one of the most commonly used BIM tools out there, with probably 70% market penetration or more. Now, for this particular program, to start off with, there's no prior knowledge of Revit is necessary. So the idea here is we're going to take you from zero to working knowledge on this particular program. It's not, CAD would be helpful, but it's certainly not necessary. And in some instances, some people find it easier without CAD experience because they're coming at it with a fresh perspective. So it's a beginner course for everybody. Now, because a beginner course doesn't mean your output is not going to be useful. The course itself is fully online. And in order for that to happen, you're going to be given Revit educational licenses. They will be provided as part of the course. And you will also, well, you have an option to install Revit on your own machine, or I will provide you with a virtual machine that you can use to it. Again, it's a very simple process to go through it. It's evening delivery. They go from 18:30 to 21:30, or in old money from 6:30 to 9:30 in the evening. The Revit Architecture program usually runs on a Tuesday night, but that might change. When I say might change, Tuesday to Wednesday or something like that. And it runs for a total of 10 weeks. We'll go to the next one there if we could. Next slide. Yeah, so what are you going to do? Well, it's a modeling tool, and a lot of the time you're going to be producing three-dimensional models, of course, but we still deal with and create plans, elevations, and sections, the usual documentation pack that you would expect to see with any sort of design application. Now, in addition to that, we go into the BIM end of it, of course, which will involve things like structural build-ups, wall configurations, floor configurations, roof configurations. And also, as building information modeling, you're going to have a shed load of building data in there. So manufacturers and things like that. So I'll show you how to do that. Because we've got our three-dimensional environment, we're going to do some solar analysis and some animations and things like that. But those come towards the end of the 10-week program. Our primary focus is to get you into a position where you can use this application on a commercial basis. And of course, topography will be in there as part of that as well, which kind of leads to some really interesting stuff. Go to the next slide. So the program will be full continuous assessment. So it's 100% CA, and that is broken into 3 individual assignments. Those assignments will involve, plans, elevation, sections, basically a drawing pack for a domestic property. Similar for a commercial property. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit more complex, and there's going to be a few changes around things. And there will also be a third assignment, which is going to go into, some of the other features of the application, such as the solar analysis, animations, pulling more data off the system, also interoperability. So we start talking about, well, how do we take, go from a Revit file to, let's just say game engine, for instance, an FBX, or if you want AutoCAD drawings out the other end. or that kind of stuff. So this program is designed to get you up and running and, you know, be able to, you know, integrate Revit into your workflow fairly seamlessly. It takes a bit of time. So the next program then is BIM with Revit MEP. Now, this is a slightly different program. The application is the same. There is no difference in application. The MEP functionality is built into Revit Architecture. I mean, in fact, there is no difference between them. So this one here is slightly more complicated in two ways. Well, the first thing is it's not just dealing with Revit Architecture. We're also going to talk about Autodesk Construction Cloud. I'll get to that in a moment. Now, for this particular program, that is the Revit MEP program, previous experience of Revit is required. Now, ideally, that would be you do the Revit Architecture course first. However, if you haven't done that, that's okay, provided you are using Revit. You need to have a working knowledge of the application before jumping into MEP. It introduces a whole new level of analytical work and modeling capability. And it's important, you just get lost in the system if you don't have that background. So previous experience of Revit is a requirement. Again, it's going to be fully online. Again, licenses will be provided for both Revit and for Autodesk Construction Cloud. Autodesk Construction Cloud is a common data environment. Now, as part of this program, this particular course, we are adding in, well, we're doing the Revit stuff, we're doing the MEP stuff, but in addition to that, we're going to take you a little bit deeper into building information modeling as a domain. So we're going to talk about CDEs, we're going to interact with the CDE, and we're also going to talk about the various standards that are used there. So there'll be a little bit of talky in this one. The other course, the rest of the course is very practical. Again, it's going to be evening delivery, 18:30 to 21:30, and it runs for 10 weeks. So if we go to the next slide, we'll see what that content looks like. So the two ends of it there, we've got MEP. So if you're not familiar with the terminology, MEP stands for Mechanical, Electrical, and Plumbing. And what we're going to do on the electrical side is we're going to go into power systems, lighting systems, and then data mapping. So when you start using MEP, I mean, you're obviously going to be fairly familiar with lighting layouts, power layouts, and things like that. You wind up using that capability in these systems. So you're going to drop in sockets and switches and light fixtures and all of that good stuff. And then internally within the system, what we're going to do is we're going to map those back to various breakers on a panel board. And, you know, this will include the loads on the circuits, all that kind of stuff. It does all those calculations itself internally. And it works a treat, it must be said. On the mechanical side, we're going to be looking at HVAC. So it's really primarily ducting and equipment. So we'll look at VAV equipment, air handlers, how to actually lay in ducting. Again, it's quite a complex process. You know, it's a little bit more complicated than putting in lines. And as part of this, and indeed for the plumbing system, which is very similar, I'm going to start showing you the pitfalls and the kinds of things that can go wrong. You know, under the hood of Revit, there's a few things that can go sideways on you. And any of you who have had difficulty with Revit MEP in the past will hopefully learn something from this. And I can show you where those holes are because I've fallen into all of them and I've dug my way out. So that's always a good part to it. The other part of this program, of course, will be ACC, Autodesk Construction Cloud. And what we're going to start doing is taking our work and bringing that into ACC. So the electrical systems, mechanical systems, I will be providing an architectural model that we're going to run in the background here. And what we'll do is we will look at how we can manage issues on those, how we can do some coordination, clash detection, all of those types of things within the ACC platform. And again, that's going to be backed up with the knowledge that we will gain through lectures, one or two, not a lot, but a few, on ISO 19650, part 1, part 2, and all that kind of good stuff. Next slide. So how does this one get assessed? Well, there'll be 4 assessments on this one. Electrical, HVAC, and plumbing. They're the 3 ones. And for the 4th assignment, it's going to be, we're going to get into modeling family parts and things like that. And we're going to do ACC there and miscellaneous tasks. So they're all equally weighted. The program has been proven, very popular with people, and it certainly is, it's been generating value for people now for, I think I've been running this thing about 6 or 7 years. So that is it from me. If you have any questions, feel free to come through on chat or anything like that. And I think there'll be a bit of time at the end. Okay, folks?
That's wonderful. Thanks, Paul. That's great. So as Paul says, you can use Q&A to answer questions, and we'll probably address them all at the end to make sure that everybody has a chance to present today. Any other further questions, you always contact us at info@dasbe.ie, and I'll put you directly to the lecturer if there's any specific questions that you need to know.